Hey, it's Tina Forsyth here of AutomateYourGrowth.com, also author of The Entrepreneur's Trap. And I want to talk to you about a very important topic. It's actually from chapter 9 here in my book, where we talk about creating your automated marketing map. See, there's a scary statistic out there that you may or may not be aware of yet. And I really want you to embrace and understand what this means. And in particular, when it applies to your marketing efforts in your business, right? I've read this statistic in various places. Again, one of the most recent ones where I had seen it is in the book Conquer the Chaos, which is by Clayton Mask and Scott Martineau. They're a couple of the founders of Infusionsoft, I believe. And here's the statistic that I want you to hear and understand. When it comes to buying something, right? 2% of people will buy something after the first contact with whatever the business is, right? 3% after the second contact, 4% after the third, 10% after the fourth contact, and 81% of sales, 81% of purchases will happen after the person has had 5 or more contacts, 5 or more conversations, emails, outreaches, whatever it is, from that 5 or more times that they've connected with someone or with that business, right? 81% of sales happen after 5 contacts. Now, the flip side of this, which is where it gets very scary for you, and I want you to know and embrace this, understand it, 48% of business owners, 48% of you will quit reaching out after the first effort. Phone call, email, etc., whatever it is. 24% quit after the second. 12% quit after the third. 6% quit after the fourth effort, and 10% of businesses out there, of businesses and entrepreneurs, will make 5 or more efforts, outreaches, contacts, etc., right? So what this boils down to, and why this is very frightening, and why I need you to understand this and embrace it, is the fact that 10% of businesses are getting 81% of the sales that are out there. Yikes! Are you one of the 10%? I mean, that's really my biggest question for you, and, do you want to be? I'm assuming it's a hell yeah. I know it is for me. Now, here's the thing. This just simply boils down to following up with people, right? It simply boils down to following up with people. And I know that this is an area that many, many businesses struggle with. Many businesses struggle with. I want to share with you in some future videos some concrete steps you can take to really get some strong follow-up in place to really create what we call an automated marketing map. Right? So I do have a 5-step process. I want to share that with you in future videos. But I do, in the next couple of videos, that is. But here's the thing. I want you to first and foremost understand why it is that you're not following up the way that you could. Because if you don't really get what it means, again, you need to understand the importance. 10% of sales going to 81%. Or 10% of the businesses are getting 81% of the sales simply because they follow up with people on a regular basis. Why aren't you following up right now? You may forget. If you're anything, and believe me, this has happened to me too. I can share all this stuff from personal experience too, right? You met somebody, they expressed an interest in working with you, and you simply forgot about it. You got their card, you lost it, you tucked it away somewhere, gone, done. You just forget, right? You have no way to gather, to capture that information so that you can take action on it, is really key there. You focus on hot leads and forget about the people who are already on your list, who are already part of your network, people you've connected with in the past. This is another area where a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck. You may have met someone yesterday and you're following up with them and do. What about the person that you met a few months back? What about the person you met even a couple of years ago that is interested in working with you? I can't remember where I've heard this said many times, right? Again, I think it's a very common kind of marketing strategy or a principle out there. People buy on their own time. People will buy from you when they're ready to buy, when it's important for them to buy. We had someone join one of our higher end training programs last week who literally said to us, I have been following Tina for years. Now is the time for me to take this step. Right? If I had not been in constant outreach to her and building a relationship and all of the stuff we'll talk about in future videos, I doubt she ever would have joined this training program. She never would have purchased anything from me, right? This stuff is really, really important that way. When you only get focused on the hot leads and then you drop and forget about the rest, then you can be literally, watching money flow right out the door again, right? Getting distracted by everything else going on day to day. I mean, believe me, guys, I get it. You're in business, you're an entrepreneur, you're crazy busy. You know, and by all means, this stuff can very easily fall to the bottom of the list, especially when it's not the most enjoyable thing for some of us to do, which I know can be very true for some of us. You think the person's going to call back, contact when they're ready. You know, here's the thing too. People need to be wooed, if that's the right word. People need to know that you want to work with them. Sometimes people are right on the verge of making a decision about something, and they need somebody to stand up for them and say, hey, now's the time, let's do this, right? But likewise too, sometimes when we're just busy ourselves, we need somebody to kind of chase us down. I've used this example, I think, before in the past, right? But I remember in this past summer, I wanted to get a pergola built in our backyard. I don't know if you know that, like those wooden structures that kind of go over your patio area. And I wanted to get one of those built. You know, and I had someone come out, he did a quote for me, you know, we talked, he was at my house, he sent me a quote, never heard from the guy again. And literally, if he was to call me, honestly, if he was to call me today, the same thing would probably still happen, but if he would have called me, just said, hey, did you get the quote? What do you think? When do you want to get started? I would have said yes. I'm still sitting here basically ready to say yes, but because I'm so busy with everything else going on in my life, I just don't think of it, or it kind of falls to the bottom of my list. Right? But likewise too, when I do get to the point where it's like, oh, hey, when the sun starts shining again, it's February right now, but when the sun starts shining again, I'll be like, I want this pergola. Do I want to reach out to the same guy or not? I don't know. Does he actually want my business? I don't know. He hasn't followed up with me. You know, don't just sit there and assume that people are going to call you when they're ready. Don't be afraid to woo. Don't be afraid to nag, as I like to say too, right? You don't have to be pushy. You don't have to go overboard with it. But really, I'd rather have you err on the side of kind of reaching out more, even if it feels a little uncomfortable to you, as versus not. Because not doesn't serve anyone. It's not serving the people who want what you have to offer, not serving you either, right? And you know, this is, again, too, as we talked about already, when you don't understand the impact that proper follow-up can have on your business, then you just don't think it matters. You know, 10% of businesses getting 81% of the sales. Right? That's impact. That's huge. And it can be very, very easily solved by getting a couple of key pieces in place in your business. So what I want to talk about in the next few videos here, you guys, in our next video, we're going to dive into what I call the 5 steps for creating your automated marketing map. And that's all about what happens when people join your list. What happens when you make that initial connection with somebody? You want to take them on a journey so they get to know, like, and trust you. And so they get to be ready to buy from you when they're ready to buy from you. Right? We're going to talk about that in the next video, as well as how to continue to maintain that relationship long term. I assure you, it's actually very simple, straightforward stuff. It's not too frightening, believe me. So until then, it's Tina Forsyth here. Take care, everyone. Bye now.